Um, yeah, you could say that at the beginning.
What?
Oh, here we go.
Hey. Oh, hey, everybody's here. We're live. Hey, congratulations. We did it. Yay. Okay.
From a new location.
Ladies and gentlemen, the modern nerd. All right, so we've got a really kind of cool episode. We all managed, and I screwed the whole thing up. This is entirely my fault. We all managed to watch Dune finally. And
it hasn't been out that long though, has it?
No.
Like a week or so?
Dan's frozen. Is anyone else frozen for Dan?
Uh-oh.
Well, Dan's going to have this smirk on his face the rest of the podcast, so
Dan, you can disconnect and reconnect if you want.
All right.
We'll get to Dan in a second here. It's fine.
What's going on here?
It's George's logo.
Okay. There it is.
All right. So, we've got a few trailers to go over. We're going to go over Dune is going to be the bulk of this, and then Dan's got a new segment, Questions with Dan Smirch.
He's trying to steal my thunder because I got a segment which is called "Is It Better Than Rogue One?" and he's got a new segment.
we're gonna tie all these segments together. So don't worry, I got you, George. Watch this. Okay, so
right.
I'll get you at the end.
All right.
So let's start with DC, some DC fandom stuff, because I feel like we're gonna breeze through a bunch of these because they did like a bunch of really short things and then a couple of trailers. So. The one I think that'll be the quickest really is going to be Aquaman. They gave us a behind the scenes look, essentially a first look at the thing. To me, the biggest takeaway for this was, hey, look, Black Manta's still in it, and then Ocean Master, his brother Orm is in it, and that's kind of really all it was. It was, here's some filming, here's some action. Like, they gave him a classic suit. I think it's like the blue and black, which was like from like the 80s or something like that. There was a run that was going on in the comic books there. So it's cool that they brought in a little bit more mythos to everything. But I mean, other than that, I didn't really have much to take away from it other than, yeah, it's going to be Aquaman. Yeah, I'm going to see it. Yeah, it's Jason Momoa. They have my money, but they had it before they even showed me anything. So I'm not.
What's her name in it still?
I think so. And
Amber Heard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to like.
Yeah, so did I.
Of all the controversy and drama.
It's just a whole bunch of bullshit. I'm going to weigh in. Who wants to get controversial? I'll weigh in on that.
Really
no,
kidding. That
Come on, let's do it. I don't care. Who the hell knows?
Who the hell knows? It's he said, she said. I don't know.
Each other clearly,
it's like none of us were there or either of them.
They had a toxic relationship.
Well, yeah, they don't belong together.
They were just bad together.
I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, not to, whatever, age is just a number, but damn, dude, they have a huge age gap.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Aquaman. Anybody have any chimes on Aquaman 2?
Nope.
King of Tides or Tide
You know
King
what I heard
title?
that was interesting is what's his face from that first one? What's the name of that bad guy? Mantis?
Black Manta?
Black Manta. I heard that there was actually a remote possibility he was going to get his own spinoff.
So here's a fun fact. This is I thank you, George, because there was a thing I heard today. I was listening to Kevin Smith's podcast, as I do, and someone weighed in. The guy who owns the Scum and Villainy bar or cantina in LA. I was there, didn't get a chance to go, but it's a cool bar. Looks like the cantina from Star Wars. He's a super nerd.
Is there people
Star
like
nerd. Yeah, probably.
That plays that song, the same song again and again and again.
Do you remember remember when they were going to do the Trench movie about like those trench monsters? Did you hear about that? Like a couple years ago, a year or so. So they're going to do a spin-off called Trench, and it was going to be about those monsters that came out of the deep. But James Wan was going to do it. So the guy who did Aquaman. But he came out and like was like, hey, you want to hear something kind of funny? Yeah, that Trench movie, because everybody's talking about Black Manta, was going to be like a low-key Black Manta movie.
Oh,
where,
that's
like,
what
he
it
was
is.
going to be kind of mostly in that movie over everybody else. And so like, I'm like, that would have been kind of cool if it focused more on him going and dealing with the trench and all that. I'm like, hey, if you had marketed it as Black Manta, it probably wouldn't have gotten scrapped off the shelf. You know what I mean?
No?
I think it would have been made. It would have been made.
Yeah?
But probably. But either way.
I don't care about any of this.
Yeah, I don't care about either. I mean, it's Aquaman.
Jason Momoa should have been Lobo, because I look at him and I see Lobo.
Are they making a Lobo?
Yeah, they're going to cast him. like within the next year.
And why
And
is
I'm
it
just
not
like,
Jason?
Are they?
I think so.
Can he not
well,
play both?
it's moving forward. So
Can he
Is it
not
like a
move?
Lobo
yeah.
movie, or he's like part of Supergirl, or what?
I don't know.
Can
but
you
they're
not play
casting
both?
Lobo.
No, they
No.
can't play both. He
No.
was gonna be. They did Lobo in the. Was it Supergirl, the TV show?
Yeah.
They did a
But
Lobo already,
it's something
and
bigger. It's something that's like in one of the movies or.
I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, again, this is all DC, and it's all just
Crap.
let's go this way, let's go that way, let's go this.
Whatever.
So you know, there's some gems. The next little teaser they did was Black Adam. I'm the reason I'm excited for this
Why is it
movie is
never
because
Asian
The Rock
Adam or White Adam?
Rock doesn't The Rock doesn't ever half-ass anything he does. So you know, he's in it, and it was a cool little trailer. And
Did you just say The Rock doesn't half-ass anything?
I was seriously, dude. I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to
Like,
think of like a WrestleMania that he might have wrestled John Cena in.
movie.
Sorry, but like,
everything he puts.
I don't think The Rock half-asses his life. I think he just is looking to fill his schedule perpetually.
That's why he's the
to
most
be as busy
highest
as
paid actor, is
possible.
because he fills
To be
his
as
schedule.
busy as possible from start to finish. And I would say this is going to take precedence over everything else. But
Active.
how many movies has he put out, and how many of them have been good?
I mean, I like most of his recent stuff.
Really, you like The Tower? You like?
I didn't see Skyscraper.
I
mean, Jumanji was fantastic.
Jumanji is
But
good.
That could
But
say
that's
you could say that that's not necessarily all because of him. It was because there was an ensemble cast and he had great
Sure.
people around him with wonderful comedic timing.
I liked him in Hobbs and Shaw. I thought he was good. There was nothing wrong with his role and his acting, and it was good.
It was just the same.
There was a bunch of but I mean, then you got obviously he's going to be the same character in whatever the Fast and Furious movies, and Rampage was a that wasn't so bad, you know.
I didn't see
Okay.
it. That's okay. Whatever.
But I mean, like, look at any Stallone movie, look at any Schwarzenegger movie, look at like all Van Damme movies, look at all these action star movies. They're all the same, but everybody loves them. So like, you can't put up the argument for one and not the other. He's following in the footsteps of one of the greatest action stars of ever, and it's doing essentially the same stuff. A couple of kids movies, a couple of action movies, kind of producing some of his own stuff. Now he's going in on it. So, you know, I mean, I'm excited for his Black Adam, because this is a passion project. I feel like this will be a little different than everything else.
The thing is that honestly, I think what's interesting is that I'm hoping they do a good job somehow tying this with like the other parts of the DC universe. The character itself is such a, like, you know, I'm not a huge comic book fan, and I honestly haven't followed all the DC stuff, but I do know enough about that character to know that it's a wonderful, like, kind of anti-hero character, and also has some very long dark history with a lot of the other characters in the DC universe.
Black Adam isn't an anti-hero. He's a villain.
No, he's an anti-hero.
He starts as a villain, right? He starts as a villain.
Okay.
He's an anti-hero in that, like, everything he's trying to do, he's doing for his people to try and better all that kind of stuff. So,
but in every story we interacts with, he's like fighting against, like,
when you get him in like a ensemble, they just put him on the villain side. So you don't, you know, like all those animated movies and all those things that we've seen, he's just been a villain. But I didn't read any of it, but I have heard that he was written more like an anti-hero. Now, he's not going to be like Deadpool anti-hero. He's going to be, you know, kind of like if Thanos walked the line more than.
There's no question. He's a bad guy, right? But it's like,
yeah, kind of.
But the thing is,
it's like, going to change now.
It might change now, and it's like, but the thing is I just want to see how his story fits into, you know, Shazam and all the other DC heroes.
I kind of think booking the world's most popular and like biggest movie star as a villain who's got a bit of an ego on him, he's gonna change it. Like, he's gonna make it so he's like the big picture guy. I think like he's gonna be like the anti-hero you and I are kind of been talking about. Like, he's gonna come like just more toward the hero side because it's the fucking Rock. I don't know. I look forward to it. I'm glad there's some star power behind it, but he is going to just do whatever he feels like
I
with that
want to see him
character,
face
and
off
not many
against
people are
Shazam.
going
I
to be
want
able to
like
stop him.
that payoff has to come along, right? Like, come on, what's the point of
Sure.
introducing him if that's not going to happen?
Sure.
I don't think DC's gonna let him run completely wild, Warner Brothers. I mean, I know that they're like, yeah, good, do the thing.
We'll see.
But he will have a big sway in the universe. I just think that I think it would be great for like this is like a perfect time for him to essentially turn heel in a movie finally. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
that would
true.
be he was a good heel in wrestling, and I'd like to see him on the big screen do that because everything he's done
I
has been
agree.
mostly,
Will
you know,
studios agree though? I don't know.
we'll find out. So, all right, let's go to the other one that I think we're gonna have a really short conversation about, and that's Uncharted, the video game to movie trailer. So I'm gonna only say this. At first, when I saw the casting, I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, maybe it's like an early. Okay, let's give Wahlberg a mustache and go for it. Didn't give him a
Doesn't
mustache.
go with
Really,
mustache.
that's like my biggest complaint. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, "Oh, he's just Mark Wahlberg in this again. He didn't even try."
I mean, what did
Tom,
you expect?
Tom's gonna do great.
Tom
Tom's
is
gonna do
just going to be
Tom, and
Spider-Man. I mean, Tom's going to
Yeah,
be Tom.
dude, that's all I hear. I don't
Tom
hear
is
Nathan Drake. I just hear him.
Tom's big curse from here on in is that every single movie he's going to be in for the rest of his life, he's going to be compared to Spider-Man. It's the same problem with George Clooney. George Clooney is always going to be that character from ER no matter what. That or Danny Ocean.
He's not
I
that
would.
anymore.
Clooney's a bad
Not true.
example.
Clooney,
I
mean,
would
but when
say
he did Batman, it just felt like freaking, like
no.
it just like when he did like
I would.
there's a lot of heroes, a lot of characters who unfortunately a lot of actors get put into several movies as one person or have played as character so much or have we seen on TV so often that it's like you've seen the wide range of acting that they got. So it's like everything is kind of familiar. And I think that's the problem with him is that I'm not saying Tom Holland's a bad character, but I'm saying now we've seen him in like 4 movies, at least 4 or 5 movies as Spider-Man. It's good. And most of our first impression of him as an actor, most people, is Spider-Man. So it's going to be very difficult for him to shake that for the rest of his career. I hate to say it, especially such a young career. It's the same thing with the Harry Potter kids. It's the same thing with like,
I think like
a
the
lot of
most
those
relatable
franchises.
thing, which will tie in, is Robert Pattinson. I mean, everybody sees him as
Edward
Edward
Cullen,
and Edward Cullen, and now we're getting him as Batman. Now, granted, his body of work between then and now couldn't
Wide.
be further from Edward Cullen.
Absolutely.
Like it's just ridiculous. So I started The Lighthouse like a week or so ago because I really wanted to see it because I'm like, this looks
Not the
intriguing
first
to me.
time I've heard someone say that, which is funny.
Yeah, and like got like 40 minutes in and I was just like, "Oh my God, like there's nothing has happened so far and it's just it was too long." But what I did see, I liked. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I'm just saying it was a really really fucking slow movie. But Pattinson was great. Obviously Willem Dafoe was great because he was just being like a drunken Irishman and that was fantastic. But it made me what I did see a little bit more excited for the Batman because I think that this guy really, so many people pigeonholed him for no reason. Like they can't see past Edward Cullen. They can't see past Twilight and everything like that.
It's hard, dude. It's hard. I mean, like, that's the problem with the success, right? Is that like you hope that it doesn't like it gives you a chance to do more, but you never know. Chances are you're just going to get typecasted as teen heartthrob.
So the Batman trailer looks just fantastic. I'm starting to think of my friend out here who doesn't watch trailers and kind of wish I hadn't because it's just I'm so fucking excited for this movie. It looks so cool. Like I kind of got a little upset when they show that scene when he's walking down like the hallway and they're just like and it's just bouncing off of his chest and I'm like I wish I saw that first time in the big screen. It looks so good. I mean, Zoe Kravitz looks fucking amazing, and she's gonna do so well. I mean, you've got the unrecognizable Colin Farrell a little bit more in it, and you're just like, this is like the role that is gonna change Colin Farrell's life because it's gonna, come on. I mean, this movie looks fantastic. There's nothing bad I have to say about this movie. You can have my money now and every day until this movie comes out. I will buy a ticket every day if it means it'll come out faster.
I'm cautiously, like low expectations, because it's like, I don't know. I don't deny that the fact is there are some exciting little scenes that you see in this trailer, but I'm hesitant because it's like, we've seen Batman so many times with so many people play it, you know, and it's just like, I have very little faith in how well, like, these, like, it's gonna be that age-old question: will it be as good as Rogue One, or is it just another cash grab for DC?
Drink.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is it just another cash grab? Like, they know for sure there are people like Sir Slice, Tim here, who will just throw money at it no matter what. You know, it doesn't really matter what the fuck they put out. So is this more of a cash grab that it's like, do we really need to see more Batman? And it's like, also, like, how does this Batman tie in with the rest of the Batman or the rest of the DC universe you're trying to pull?
Well, there's a multiverse, so there's that. But I mean, like, if it was a cash grab, it would be 100% tying into everything, and it would be tying in. But it's not. It is its own thing, and that gives me a little more hope than usual. I think the trailer's great. It's a great trailer. The music in that trailer gives me goosebumps. It's cool. It's unique. It's not something you'd think to fit a Batman type trailer, but it fits, and it's awesome. I'm rooting for Pattinson. The dude needs a dub. I want him to prove everyone wrong. I gotta say that one moment where he slams on the glass and says something, you're kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound like Batman. He sounds like sounds like Robert Pattinson. But like, it doesn't matter, because like, this is a story about a young, frustrated, like, angry Batman, like, starting out. And he is going to take out his frustration on everyone. And like, just like the image of him beating the hell out of that guy at the end of that first trailer that came out a year ago, I think is kind of giving us a little taste of like, he is dispensing justice, but he is just angry. And I'm kind of looking forward to a kind of like slightly unhinged Batman, like really beating the hell out of people, like, and not just for the sake of it, but for like, because you can see he's mad at everything in his life and he's taking it out of them. And that, to me, a slightly almost borderline psychotic Batman, like not quite got a hold of everything, still figuring out how to do things, is that prospect alone is exciting. And then you take into Colin Farrell just disappearing into that role.
Gone.
I do not recognize that man. And just the scenes of him walking, the end of that trailer, the upside down shots, it's clear that that Matt Reeves is a Batman fan just by those shots alone. And I am hopeful because of that. I'm not too excited about Zoe Kravitz. I'm just not her fan of hers, but everything else,
I thought Zoe looked cool.
Pretty good. It's where's your mask? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the one scene that you have her in, you see the mask at some point. It's just like a silhouette, so she has one.
That's fine. But I'm also very looking forward to Paul Dano as this very unique take on the Riddler. It's gonna be interesting to see him do his thing, and it looks like he was given a lot of creativity to do this unique take on the Riddler. I'm all for it. George we were talking about this, me and George, and he was like, "But why do we need another Batman movie?" Which is a fair question. We've had a lot of them, but I think some of these characters need. I mean, the Riddler. I mean, the only time I've seen Riddler was Jim Carrey fucking doing his Jim Carrey, thing, which is fun and stuff. But I mean, I don't know.
Thick skull number one.
Yeah, like it's just like he might as well busted out some of his catchphrases, like and this doesn't even look like the Riddler. Like, it's just like something completely different. And I like the idea of just trying new things. And when I was talking to George about the Penguin, I mean, the last time I saw the Penguin, look, no disrespect to Danny DeVito and what he did, it was great. But I don't want I don't want a
Dude,
penguin guy.
I'm gonna say
I want the penguin.
I'm gonna
Like,
say it. Batman Returns might be the best Batman movie of all time.
what?
Ooh,
Like,
okay, that's
it's
a
in the top 2 in
lot
my
to
opinion.
unload there. You talking
Are you
about? I want
kidding me,
this to be a
George?
3-hour podcast. Just
Hold
that
on a
alone is
second.
going to be
Hold
3
on.
hours worth
It's
of
a loaded,
conversation.
it's a loaded
You said it.
statement.
You're telling me Batman Returns is better than The Dark Knight?
It's definitely it's definitely close to that.
You didn't answer my question.
Is it better than Dark Knight? It's hard to say, but I really like it. Out of
do you
all
mean
the
it's
Batman
hard to
movies, for
say?
sure, The Dark Knight and
It's
Batman Returns
not
are the
hard to
top
say.
2. If you want to
I
say
mean, I
one
would
is better
say-
than the other, I mean, I
would
really,
say-
really like the Dark Knight, but I really, really
say-
like Batman Returns, dude.
Dark Knight and Batman, like 89 Batman, like those are the two for me. Dark Knight and an 89 Batman.
I think
Not-
Batman Returns is better
Batman
than 89
Returns.
Batman. I think it's better than the first one.
It's
Oh.
good, but like I wouldn't put it. I mean, it's
like
there's,
honestly, it's
there's so
like,
many bad ones.
There's
still
so
got
many
a
bad
really
ones.
bad
That's the
George.
problem. But whatever. I mean, that's a loaded question and a loaded
Hold
thing.
on.
And maybe we
You
should
still
go back to
haven't
it.
given me a straight answer. You keep dodging the question. Is The Dark Knight Rises better or worse
The
than
Dark Knight
Batman
Rises.
Returns?
You
No,
mean the third
Dark
one or
Knight.
the second one?
No, is The Dark Knight better or worse than Batman Returns?
I don't know.
The world's waiting.
You don't
on me,
know.
George.
I will say
Wait,
I
no.
really like Batman Returns, and I really think it's definitely in the top 2. I mean, like, what
Okay,
more do you want me to say?
Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase Dan's question for you. Let me put it in a little different of a
Oh,
perspective.
how about this? If I had to pick between one of the two, and I have only seen one or the other one, I would say Batman Returns.
So you
Insane.
If I could
Quality
only watch
movie-
one more
That is-
Batman out
wait,
of those
wait,
two,
wait, wait.
I would say Batman Returns.
This is
So
almost the
quality
same thing I've
movie.
ever heard you say. Holy
you
crap.
like Batman Returns more than you like Dark Knight.
Right.
Whether or not they're better
It is hard to say.
irrelevant.
Right.
You like them more.
Oh.
I mean, that's
I like
that's
Batman
fair.
Returns more than I like The Dark Knight.
That's fair.
Wow.
I'll allow that.
Dude, Batman
You
Returns
like
is a
whatever
fucking
you
Tim
want.
Burton masterpiece, dude. When was the last time you watched it?
Oh, I mean, dude, you don't have to ask me. I watch Tim Burton movies all the time.
Smarch, when was the last time you watched Batman Returns, dude? It is a Tim Burton masterpiece. It is
Oh,
probably
wow.
one of his
Alright.
best films. I mean, like,
Can we
I
like do a
remember-
live cast of it, like watching and
Dude,
talking
I mean,
about
it was good, but it was campy, dude. Like, it was cheesy. Like, there were moments that are, that are awesome. You're just like, wow, that was absolutely ridiculous.
you don't like, yeah, of course it's ridiculous. It's over the top, and it's like, that's the way like the Tim Burton Batmans were. But like,
I don't think it was that cheesy.
it wasn't like, it was kind of
I
dark
mean,
if you remember watching it. And
It
like,
was super dark.
dude, do you know, like, if you watch back and look at the people who were in that cast, there's a huge, like, that cast is like freaking amazing. What's his face for, oh, what is his name? Pee Wee Herman's in it.
What?
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman's in it, dude. He plays fucking Oswald Cobblepot's dad, senior. Like,
Wow.
isn't that Pee
I
Wee
watched it all.
Herman?
I've seen this movie like dozens of times. Couldn't remember it.
There's like,
Did
Christopher
everyone,
Walken's in it too.
George has ruined our reputation as nerds for the rest of our careers.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. When was the last time you saw
everyone-
Batman Returns, dude? And I don't know why you dislike the Danny DeVito Penguin, because the thing is that's a real
I never said
storyline
it.
from the book, from the comic books.
Fuck, it was.
He runs for mayor in the comic
He was.
books.
No, that's fine. I'm talking about him being a penguin. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
there's
talking about.
there's actual comic book where
Well,
he's
all right,
where he
fair enough.
is
And that's
he
just
is that.
That's just not what I think of when I think of the penguin.
What, you
I
think
mean,
of
I do-
Penguin
I
from
do
like
want-
the 80s where he's like,
It's like a short mob boss. That's what I think of.
Yeah, I do. I am excited for like mob boss Penguin that we didn't really get then. And at the time, I was all for it. I mean, I loved it when it came out. Don't get me wrong, because in my opinion, Michael Keaton is my Batman.
yeah.
'Cause that's what I grew up with. But
That could be what tips the balance, is that out of all the Batmans, I like Michael Keaton the best, and maybe that's why I really
that's
enjoy
true.
Batman
That's-
Returns, because he's a better Batman than Christian Bale, in my opinion. So
All right, got
that's
George
really
worked
why
up.
I like Batman
it's
Returns.
okay. It's exciting.
I can't argue with you on the Batman front. Just the choice that Christian Bale made to do the thing alone is a rough. It's hard to get.
Well,
behind
I mean,
him as
and
that.
I understand, Spurge. We have different opinions, but like, you don't need to say that would ruin our opinion as actual nerds, because I'm sure there's plenty of people who agree with
I
me.
was I was joking, George.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who would agree with me on that.
Time out. Hold on.
I wasn't saying
we're
like
derailing.
I know you love Batman Begins. Like you can't like I've heard you talk about it, and I'm just like it's okay.
I haven't talked about Batman
Dark
Begins
Knight.
once.
Dark Knight. I get
this whole time. I was
Um,
George. I was joking. I was just like I was thinking about the backlash if we were just everyone holds Dark Knight as in such high esteem, and I do too. And there's a reason for that, but I
That's
don't.
true.
I mean, no offense.
I mean, this
George.
coming
I
from the
wasn't
guy who
busting your
doesn't like the
balls.
bazooka line. Come on, dude.
What?
It's
Oh,
true.
that line is
Who
ridiculous,
ripped
though.
apart the
I mean,
movie for that bazooka line? Come on.
I mean,
Like,
are you defending the bazooka line?
I don't think it was that
No.
bad. I don't think I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think.
I
I,
mean, it
don't
wasn't-
nearly think it was that bad the way you
great.
think it was that bad.
I love it because it's ridiculous. That's why I like that line. Okay, hold on. All right. We're very off topic. I appreciate the enthusiasm here. We're dialing it back.
George's
Jesus.
coming after me the rest of the podcast. Dude.
We'll settle this in Smash. Everybody calm down.
Nah, that'd been
I got
fair.
nothing. Okay, so we did the Batman, and speaking of Keaton, I mean, he's back. He's finally back as Batman in the Flash. I feel like we already talked about this? Was this on last
We
week's
did
or
talk
last
about
episode?
it already. We already did talk.
Anyway,
about this.
I'm excited about that. We've all talked about Michael Keaton coming back, and we're moving on from the Batmans until we can all calm down. Okay,
But
so
we
man, that was a very intense conversation. So let's talk about Lightyear, something a little lighter.
All
Zing.
right.
I watched this trailer, and it just creeped me out.
Why?
Like the whole
funny.
it just was. There's something about seeing him as a person really I'm like, you've been a toy since 1995, and now he's a person. Even had its own television show, cartoon as a toy, and now you're a person, and it's tripping me out. But I learned a small little bit a fact about this. Is someone was talking about it, someone in Disney, and it's not that he was a real person. The character was based off of a movie. So this is the movie that the toy was based off of. So it's not that like this person existed in their mythos in their real life.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I was like,
okay. I was
are you
like,
telling me that
there's a Buzz
real
Lightyear
Buzz
TV
Lightyear out
cartoon
here?
show
I was
that's like
I was
about
like, what the hell?
the real Buzz Lightyear and his adventures in outer space.
Right, but the character, the toy in the movie was based off of
This person.
a separate movie.
Yeah,
No, a movie within the universe. So it's not like a real person existed in their universe.
Right. He's a
so that threw
cartoon
me
show
off.
or whatever.
But it still looks really weird to me, just because, again, I'm wanting him to be a toy. Now, I rewatched it a second time and third time later because I was like, I need to get over this because it's just freaking me out. It looks fun. Like it really looks like a cool movie, and what they're gonna do with it, I think it looks neat. I love animated shit, so I think it'll be kind of interesting to see this. Because I mean, how much I wasn't
expecting them to do this. I was
show.
expecting them to make another Toy Story before they did something kind of like this, but I guess people don't want to see that.
Apparently, there was talk at some point in Disney about doing this type of universe where they're gonna have like Woody, like a Woody movie, and like do all of this as well for other characters. And I was like, all right, how are you going to do that for Slinky? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to do this for Mr. Potato Head? Like, how do you make those
Mr.
into
Potato Head
not
goes to Congress?
toys? This is going to be like a horror movie where someone gets turned into a potato, like The Fly. Like, you can get Jeff Goldblum to come in and do The Fly again, but with the potato. I don't know. But the movie looks cool. Apparently, I'm not the only person that was very creeped out about this. There is a pretty wide net of people who are just like, I am a little uncomfortable looking at this rendition of Buzz Lightyear. So I feel a little bit better as that. It's funny that it's also Captain America goes to space. So it's Chris Evans. So
looks fine. I don't know. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
it's
I
Pixar.
don't have any hang-ups about it.
They're not gonna mess this up. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
You'll get used to it in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and that'll be that.
I think it's
last
just probably
trailer.
easier to think about it as not even the same thing, right? Like, yeah, they just share the name, but it's just like you just need to remove yourself from
It doesn't
that
even
idea.
look like.
Yeah, you
the
just
Buzz we
remove
know.
yourself from the idea that he has anything to do with the toy.
Yeah, and I will, and it'll be fine when it comes out. It just threw me off. I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like, it's like that artist rendition of like all the of like what Pokemon would really look like, and I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? So it threw me off. But last little trailer I want to talk about, and it'll probably be short. Peacemaker has a longer trailer. Now, John, I feel like is just really having a good fucking time with this character. He's just like, I'm excited. I want to do this all the time. And James Gunn was like, hey, you want to do it all the time? Guess what? You can. And they gave him his own TV show by James Gunn. So I mean, like, just like at the end when he's like dancing around in his underwear, I'm like, yeah, you had me before this, but now I'm even more in because it's just that man looks so ridiculously swole and like weird. He looks like a cartoon character as it is. Now he's playing a live action version of a comic book character. I'm like, this is just fucking perfect for him. So it looks a lot of fun.
I mean, he was definitely the most interesting character in Suicide Squad. So
oh yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
He wore his costume on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Like,
yeah, I saw that. Like, that was funny.
He's enthused to play this character, and that shows. And you can't not like enjoy that just from any standpoint. And just to see him ham it up and have a good time is even more endearing. And I wish him all the best. He deserves success.
This means a lot coming from the three of us because he comes from, obviously John Cena's from wrestling, and the three of us, I would say, we're not necessarily John Cena fans. We have respect for him, but we're not John Cena fans. Right, like we're not like bandwagon wear his freaking clothes and like buy his t-shirts. He's probably the last person's t-shirt.
We're not fans of the John Cena character that Vince forces down.
We're not fans of John Cena when he's in WWE, despite the fact we respect for all the work that he's done for the company and for the industry.
Workhorse.
Right, for the industry for all those years. I respect him, but he's certainly not my favorite wrestler. But the truth of the matter is, because I respect him, I wish him all the fucking success because he's paving the way for anybody else in the industry who probably wants to get into movies.
There's I don't know if I could name a person from that company who I respect more in total. He's one of the hardest working, nicest human beings. What most Make-A-Wish Foundation wishes by far.
Anyway, it's like he's on like 600 something or something crazy like that now.
And he's a fantastic human being. He's hilarious and he's loving life. And he deserves all the success.
Favorite part is when he's in Total Divas and he looks at the camera and says, "I'm gonna hit you with my finisher tonight." Looks right at the camera. This is reality TV. Looks right at the camera and laughs.
He was too good for that show.
He's too good for that show. Too good for that girl, but that's a totally different story.
So Dan said, you threw me off on a tangent in my mind there. You said there's no one in that industry that you respect more. And being I would almost say lifelong fan of wrestling, although I don't watch it as much anymore. I just was like, who?
Maybe Mick Foley.
Yeah, that's nailed it. Like Mick is the only other person. Yeah, like, but like everyone else, like either you sold out or I mean Austin, sure, but like but Foley, so that's fascinating. I will say this to Cena's character. I feel like at the end of his full-time career as a wrestler, that you can tell that Vince was kind of like, yeah, man, just go do it. Like, do whatever. Like, I don't even care anymore, because he did become a little bit more interesting in his promos, and his matches were a little bit more fascinating. I remember, like, when he had the U.S. Championship, like, those were some of the best Raw matches I'd seen in a long time. I respect him a lot
because of that. Yeah, because he gave a lot of people a chance to come in, and people like Cesaro, and people who've never wrestled for a title ever, a chance to wrestle. Good. So that I respect. Even KO showing up out of nowhere from NXT when he was still in NXT. Like
that was good television.
He is all about passing the torch. Truth be told, he's all about lifting those people like who deserve the spotlight. So respect on that, and that's why I think I just want him to be successful outside of this, because I know that when the opportunity comes that he can maybe help somebody else from the company or someone who's a wrestler, that he would do so, because that's the kind of guy he is.
Agreed. I'm excited for him. I think he's got a really nice future in this industry, and I think it was, in my opinion, the turning point of his career was what was that movie? I can't remember the name of it. Where like where he's a parent and he has to like try and stop his kids from having sex or whatever.
Cock
blockers. I feel like that was a really big turning point
It was a great
because
movie. I love it.
somebody was like, let's let John Cena have a crack at comedy.
It was
And
hilarious.
he just fucking ran with it.
It was
and
hilarious.
It was amazing. And someone was like, "Oh, he's not just some giant muscly dude. He's got really good comedic timing. He's got
John
like
Cena's funny, dude.
yeah, he's real funny." And that's why I liked the end of his career because I feel like he just sort of was like, I don't care. Let's say ridiculous things on the mic, and it was fun. And I was like, good. And so I'm excited to see what else he has in store for us in the future. And I don't think this is the last time we'll be excited to see a John Cena
full-length movie by himself eventually too.
Well, like, did anybody expect to be like, oh, I'm real excited for that John Cena TV show? Like, I never thought I was going to be saying that in my entire life. John, like, just the whole back and forth chanting and the way we just ragged on that man for so long.
John Cena also has one of the best diversity PSAs I've ever fucking seen in my life. I don't know if you remember
hands
that.
Down,
that was like an emotional, moving, like, what is a true American? Like, dang, dude, like that was one of the best PSAs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was good. So, okay. So speaking of wrestlers that converted to actors, we're going to talk about Dune.
Nice.
So yes,
nice segue.
Yeah. So now, say what you will. I really wanted to. I'm going to say this before we get into the movie. I really wanted to give, as a whole, not just a basis on this movie. I really wanted to give Batista just every chance in the world to be a good actor. I really did. I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch that Zack Snyder movie. I'm gonna watch, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna watch this. I want to watch his kid.
Go first.
Nope. He can't. He's. It's just like, you just need. Come on, man. Like, you are a cool dude.
He doesn't have it. He doesn't have the chops, dude. I was talking about this to George.
He's a cool dude.
He's good at specific lines when he works in them. He nails his Drax part and his like comedic like moments in that. You cannot take that away from him.
He doesn't want to dive into comedy though. Like, he doesn't want to do. You can tell that, like, he's like, every other movie I do,
shot too, which is funny.
I know he wants to be super serious in every other movie, and I'm like, stop. Just do what works for you, and then do the rest. Prove yourself as one thing, and then try the next.
All you need to see is the Zack Snyder the zombie movie. What was it called on Netflix?
I don't know. It
doesn't matter.
Army of the Dead.
That's all you need to see. You get to see Batista take a true shot at being a leading man.
It was close.
And for him or the movie?
I like the movie. I think the movie was fine.
It was not close for him, in my opinion. I thought he was barely there, that movie. He was squinting the entire movie.
My problem...
And I was like, what are you doing?
My problem with... And this is maybe the problem with, again, people who are typecast. My problem with Batista and Dune is that, like, he's fucking Batista just in outer space. Playing like just Batista. Like when he was like there's that one scene where he's like all suddenly screaming and really loud, remember, like upset about the fact that he lost
like his first line.
Planet, right? That first line, that is legit like a Batista promo, like on the mic in the middle of the ring, like suddenly getting really loud all of a sudden. And it's like, I guess
I do want to say, like,
I've seen it before, but it's like, I get whatever.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did for his role in this, because it was super small. I think it was fine. I think he played his role pretty well. Like, you understood.
They obviously casted him knowing his range and that this was the right role for him.
Like the important henchman, and he played his role and he pulled it off. He's not a leading man. This is his comfort zone, in my opinion. If he sticks to that, I think he's exactly. Like, I think like he's like that really tough boss you face before the final boss sometimes. Or maybe,
boss.
I mean, I think he is good at stuff like this. I think he thinks he's better than this. I was telling he's talking trash, saying he never wants to work with the likes of Cena or The Rock, because he didn't say this, but you can tell he thinks he's better than they are from an acting standpoint. And I'm just like, dude, you are not that good, man. You are not as good as you think you are. And I think that if he sticks to stuff like this, I think he'll find like good success, and maybe somewhere along the way pick up some tricks and further his acting ability. But from right now, I don't think he's leading man material. I don't think he's going to be for at least a decade or so. And the fact that he's trashing other wrestlers, clearly thinking that he's better than them, just like
I mean,
makes
that's
me
just
think even less
Batista.
than him. I mean, yeah, but you're not going to see The Rock or Cena saying anything like that about
That's
their
because
other
they're The Rock
wrestlers.
and Cena.
It's
Maybe,
true.
but like you
Cena
can
would
still like
never
at least
talk
be like,
trash about another person like
I know,
that.
but you could at least like he was given
Yeah,
an
he would.
opportunity to at least give him some credit, you know, where their talent lies and their work
And
ethic
you
lies.
know Cena
And he
doesn't get
he
along
did,
with people.
and he
but
did not take that opportunity. He just took that opportunity to basically trash them. And I'm like, dude, like
whatever.
you're not that great, man. You are not in a position to like to say this anyway.
I, I
That's my
feel
Batista
like
rant.
I feel like his best role was in Blade Runner 2049 because he had
Okay,
like two
that was good.
lines
That was a good
and
That
he
was
was
good.
just that big stoic look. I mean, he has a stoic look. He's an intimidating looking motherfucker, and then he talks. Ooh, his second best role for me, oh, was
Spectre,
that
where he has
what?
one line. Spectre,
No,
where he literally
Were
says
you
one
about to
word.
say the man with the iron fist?
again, no, dude. The movie with him and oh my god,
Jodie
it's in a
Foster?
Hotel Artemis.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster. It was I if we had a moment
Never
where it's
saw
like,
it.
do you have a movie you recommend? I do recommend that movie. It was pretty fun. It's not the best movie you're ever gonna see. It's not the but like it was fun. Jodie Foster really gets to dive into a cool character. Batista has this kind of he plays like a dumb, lovable giant. And I'm like, yeah, he was good at that. It worked for me. Now, anyway, to back up a little bit, I'm going to
Away
say
from
this
Batista now.
after shit
Yeah.
talking Batista, I will say he seems like a really nice guy, like a genuine person. When in all of his interviews, he seems very humbled when he's talking to people. But either way, he needs a little bit more help there. Now, Dune as a whole. You know what, Dan? What did you feel about Dune? Give me your piece. I am always chatting and running my mouth.
Okay.
What do you got?
Dune.
What do you got? Notes in there?
No, I'm just thinking. Dune, I approximately a quarter way in this movie, I realized that I had been thirsting for a movie like this, and that we really haven't been given one in a long time, and that made me happy. Granted, it's a lot. It's a lot of movie on every front. It's a lot of everything. It's a lot of acting. It's a lot of story. It's a lot of exposition. It's a lot, and I think me and George made the right call seeing it in theaters. I wonder how I would feel if I didn't see it in theaters, because it's a grand movie in every sense.
We saw it in IMAX.
Yes, huge set pieces, huge wide shots,
Yeah.
action set scenes. And that made those were awesome because
Made it worth it.
not just because of how well they were done, but the unique aspect of it and the design aspect and this kind of like, we've seen like futuristic yet, kind of like I don't want to say rustic or something, but this was that to a much more like understandable level for the time period. And I think they nailed like a kind of like futuristic, like the year 10,000 kind of like technology, like on distant planets. I loved that aspect of it. The movie definitely was, it, it was slow, but to me, it didn't feel that slow because a, there was a reason for every scene that we saw. Even if we saw an extra Zendaya dream, two or three times, they were really trying to hammer home this whole prophecy thing, which that was one of my only things that kind of bothered me. And that's not because of the movie. That's just because of like
The story.
the whole prophecy. Yeah, the prophecy
that's
thing.
the story, right?
Right. Yeah, that is the story that has been for a long time. And I think just as viewers, you can't not be a little jaded on the whole prophecy thing at this point. That sort of thing has been played out a lot. So that's unfortunate. But that being said, I think it was a joy to watch. Definite Lord of the Rings goth kind of, technology kind of vibe. And I am very much looking forward to the next few installments, whenever they come out, 3 years from now or something.
2 years. We have official 2023.
Okay, that's actually great news. So if that being the case, I think I think Timothy Chalamet did a good job. I've never really seen him in anything before.
He's in that Rob Pattinson movie.
Which one?
What?
In that Rob Pattinson movie.
Which one?
Where they're like knights and kings.
Oh yeah.
Well, regardless, he did a great job. I think everyone acting wise, I freaking love Josh Brolin's character. God, he's good. He was so funny and so good. Dude, like, I don't know, just in the few scenes he was in the movie, he just, you understood this character immediately and what he was about. And God, I loved that for him. I love Josh Brolin. I hope, I just look for it. Anyway, that's my little bit. Let's hear from George or Tim.
Yep.
No?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have seen both previous versions of Dune on one was on the big screen with with Sting. With Sting was in it. And then I've also seen the one that was on Sci-Fi Channel, which was actually my first introduction to Dune, was the one that was on the Sci-Fi Channel as a miniseries, which was really good. It was in 2000. And I've read the books too. So like, I think what's interesting is like Dan comes to it from a perspective of never seen anything like it.
Right. I should have prefaced that. I haven't seen anything or read books or anything.
And the fact that you can say you enjoyed it like means a lot to me, and it warms my heart to hear that, because it's something that I've loved, like most of my life, that I can remember from the first time I was introduced to the world of Dune. And I think that this movie does a really good justice. Obviously, it suffers from the same problem that Dan brought out, which was the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, which is like when the action finally feels like it's real, not action, but when it feels like you've already you're like really invested in these people and you're starting to get a grasp for what's going on in the world, the film ends. And you're like, oh man, I wish there was more. Which means they did their job, right? They did their job. They did their job, 100%. And you knew coming into it this was going to be a two-parter. So I mean, good for them. They did their job.
Wait, just a two-parter?
Yeah. Well, this movie, the Dune, this first book is divided into two movies. What's interesting is a little side note is the book itself, the original Dune, was divided into several little pieces. The chapters were written in a science fiction like weekly or like monthly, publication or magazine, and then eventually they put it into a book. So in many ways, the story is already cut up into proper sections for them to decide to cut it in half. Now, the choice of them deciding to cut it in half to where it is they are now is like questionable amongst a lot of fans, but it worked out for the way that they decided to do it. So I'm happy with that. Again, seeing an IMAX made a really big difference. The director is very big about practical set pieces. If he didn't film on location in the desert, any of those other places you saw were all actually made. None of that shit was CG. The only things that were CG probably were like the ships and the battles, because obviously you don't necessarily make practical things of that. But like any of the major sets or scenes that you're seeing, all of that is either really the desert or a practical set that they made like a giant live soundstage out of. So this movie was obviously very expensive, like very expensive. And even if you don't look at the production value alone, if you look at just the cast that they had, none of those actors are cheap actors to hire. Josh Brolin, coming off of his role as Thanos, I doubt he was cheap to hire, like even for a supporting role, right? What's his face? The guy who played Duke Atreides, he came out right after that. That's after Force Awakens that he got hired to do this job. So like he probably was not cheap to hire either. So even like the casting alone already, and then of course what's her name from Mission Impossible and all those other movies, the one who played Jessica. She's coming off of like the Mission Impossible franchise and all these. She's quote unquote like one of the big hot movie actresses. Like her career is on like a meteoric rise. So the fact that they could get her to do that was amazing. And Timothée Chalamet is one of the big. Zendaya and Timothy are two of the biggest young Hollywood actors you can right now. Like so, aside from this movie, they were already hot commodities in Hollywood. So this cast alone probably was half the budget, if any, not half, but like it spent a lot of money on this cast. So I think it makes probably a difference to see this in theaters or not, because you could really truly enjoy the whole breadth of it. And I would recommend you watch it in theaters if you do have the chance to do so.
I highly recommend it.
I really think they did. I mean, they did the thing is like every single character and every single moment and every single scene, there is just so much subtext and stuff and behind the scenes and lore and history behind all those characters that the book obviously is able to do it justice, and the movie is unable to. And in many ways, I understand why they had to, even though it was a 2.5-hour movie, I understand why they had to cut a lot of things out, because in the book they'll explain, oh, like who is like the history of Gurney Halleck, and like where did he come from, and the history of like Tufo, who's like, and what are mentats, and like what are, like, why is it that there aren't any really robots, and why don't they use computers, and like all that stuff is all explained in the books, kind of, and all this lore, but none of it is in the movie because, you know, and then like all these little stories, like what really happened to Leto's dad, and why do they keep showing that Mandador statue and whatever, you know, and like, not a big spoiler alert because I don't even know if they'll ever do it, but the story is Duke Leto's dad died when he was fighting you know, doing the Matador, and that's why there's that, you know, that big bull like statue, is because that's the bull that killed the Duke Leto's dad. Like,
they probably will do it. Spoilers, thanks. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, but it's like all these little things that they put into the movie that I think were more for people who are fans who know the world, could really, really like enjoy it and be like, oh, like, wow, they really did a good job of representing that. Though they didn't really elaborate too much on that. But like, I saw the nod in the movie to like, oh, yeah, there you go. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like, so in many ways, it's the question of like, is this like, how well can this movie franchise balance itself for like the people who are diehard fans of the franchise and then the people who are new to it? And I think it did its job, especially hearing what Dan said about enjoying the movie, you know, for as much as he enjoyed it. I think the movie then did its job, is because it had to balance that the whole entire time.
All right, good. Okay, fair points. I didn't know a lot about the book. I haven't read any of it. I actually wanted to a while back. Our old boss, Enoch, shout out. He was really super into Dune, and he would listen to the audiobook. He'd read it. He'd seen all the things. He did all that. So I was going to. I just never got around to it. But I gotta say, I'd never seen it or read it, so I did not watch it in theaters. I watched it at home. Originally, I started watching it on my, you know, like our big 70-inch with like the nice speakers and all that stuff in the bedroom, but it was late and I fell asleep. So that was nothing against the movie. It's just I shouldn't have started it that late. That was my own damn problem. But I did get to sit down and watch it, and yeah, maybe my opinion would be stronger if I had seen it in theaters. So it's kind of interesting juxtaposition between, you know, the two of you and me. Did I like the movie? Yeah. I thought it was a very good movie. I liked it. I don't want anything that comes after this to think that I didn't like it. Are there parts for me that I just thought, like, I thought the pacing was a little bit off for me. There were some parts that really slowed down for me too much, and it kind of pulled me away. It brought me back, and that's mostly, you know, these cinematic pieces and these set pieces that really just kind of did awe me, even though I wasn't seeing it on the big screen. To me, it really was just like a 2.5-hour long character piece to kind of get to know these characters. And while that's fantastic, I love characters, I love in-depth, I love caring about these characters, I love learning about everything. You know, it could have done that in 2 hours and cut a half hour off of it. Would that have changed, you know, the IMAX experience? 100%. 100%, because a half of those shots were going to be those long, you know, just sweeping desert shots that, like, I mean, that shoot looks gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, everything about this movie was beautiful, just so well done. Stellan Skarsgård, I mean, that was
what a transformation, right?
That was cool.
Creepy,
I was like, oh,
like sinister, dark, like just.
I was like, is that the professor from fucking Thor? Like, what the fuck? And
he was that character.
He was that character, and you felt like his malice, his evil, his like bile, that just like this man who was just pure hatred, you know, of like, he did such a good job. Yeah. And then you have Batista playing opposite of him.
Yeah, and you're like,
oh, Batista, way to drag the scene down.
I loved it. I loved Jason Momoa as Jason Momoa. I thought that was fantastic as always, because he was. I liked. There was a couple little things that, like, for me, just it I don't know, just the whole prophecy thing. Now, granted, this book came out in like 1965, so when that was written, the prophecy thing may not have been as overplayed as it is now.
You mean
So
like, but you know
it's
that every single
unfortunate.
other thing that came after that stole from Dune, right? Dune is considered
Exactly.
Dune
So
is like considered the predecessor to even Star Wars, like and
yeah,
Star
so
Trek
like
and all that.
yeah. So
Like,
it's unfortunate that
Interesting.
like for this generation seeing it, they're thinking it's overplayed when it's what was
original.
being played on. So, you know, I'm fine with the prophecy angle. I thought that's okay. I would have liked a little more, like, you know, for the people in the back who didn't read the book. Like, I just think it would have, like, a little bit more explanation to it.
Really?
I mean, it just,
There's a lot.
Was there? There
Wait,
really
you're
were like a
in
lot of
terms of the
explanation.
prophecy, you mean?
Yeah, like he's the Liz Al Gahib or whatever, and I'm
well,
like,
like
cool.
I think the story, maybe Tim
Like,
like
who are
doesn't
these?
remember. The story is that like his mother is part of like a sisterhood or a
Right,
sorority,
I know
right?
that, but like,
And
tell me more about
they
it.
would send like missionaries to Dune to essentially pave the way for any future people who are from the sisterhood to show up and essentially take over. And one of the stories that these Reverend Mothers or these missionaries would tell is this prophecy of somebody from the off world coming, and that's how they essentially set him up to be, you know, the you know, their leader, I guess, or their
they're
prophet.
like the Illuminati,
right?
And
They
everything.
like these.
They're like the people in The Witcher. Like it's this.
Yeah, they're the people working behind the
off of
scenes, and
Dune,
they're all about, you know, genetic engineering and creating like the perfect, you know, perfect bloodlines within the houses of the noble houses across the stench. Right. In many ways, in my opinion, this is like Game of Thrones in outer space. Like in many ways,
no,
it's
100%.
like Game of Thrones
I mean,
in outer space, kind of,
Game
because
of
it's got
Thrones,
like houses fighting each
Lord
other.
of the Rings.
Even that, like,
all of them.
I was saying this to Dan. Even that scene when like the Harkonnens came into the to Dune and started attacking them, I was like, it's fucking Ned Stark, dude. This is like them coming into Ned Stark's house and killing all the servants and all that. And even though they put up a fair fight, you know, everyone's gonna fucking die because. And that's Dan was like, man, like just when I was like starting to like some of these people, like they literally slaughter the whole fucking house, and it's just like. Like,
I mean, I was saying to George, I was the amount that they were trying to make you like Jason Momoa it was very clear to me that he was going to die. If I were a gambling man, I would have bet his death first, and then he came after.
It's
almost
funny
everyone.
because it's like there's characters that literally from Game of Thrones season 1 you could like compare. Like what's his name? Jason Momoa's character kind of reminds me of Jorah, like the guy who got his eye stabbed by what's his name by Jaime Lannister in that fight. You know, one of the guys who was like Ned Stark's. Like, you know, soldier that he brought with him to King's Landing, right? And then even in season 1, there's that maid who was always around the 2 little girls who was taking care of them. And then when the house got raided, she was one of the people who like died as well. And then in Dune, there's this maid who seems to like have this relationship with Jessica and was trying to, you know, befriend Jessica. And of course, she's the first fucking person they find dead.
I forgot about that. That was like the only scene we see with her too.
Yeah,
that was interesting. There was the missus who was like trying to that Jessica became suspicious.
There was like a maid. There was a maid that Jessica became friends with that gave her the knife.
She was like, "Why are you trying to like
hide a knife?"
She's like, "I'm just trying to like
give you a present."
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, right.
She was picking the
Right. Yeah. I didn't know they were maids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like here, and I'm like,
they said
we have the candidates for housemaid.
I will say this real quick. This movie should have been called Whispers. Because everybody fucking whispers. Maybe I lost out on some of that because I was watching it at home. Everybody's
actually,
everybody fucking
I
whispers.
forgot about that.
Everybody, the whole right. He's the loudest thing in that movie, and everybody else.
No, yeah, I gotta
couldn't
say,
hear him.
We probably heard more than you did, but there were moments in full-on IMAX that I did not understand. Some
I had the fucking subtitles on.
There was a lot of foreign languages too. Like, and I mean. Obviously, they spoke Chinese in there because I'm sure they needed to make some of that Chinese money. So,
well, that's different. You know, you can deduct, or that's like they'll at least give you something that you can like figure out what's happening. There were moments where we're supposed to hear and we just didn't.
Yeah,
and
I can understand that.
If you can't hear that in IMAX,
there was no way I was hearing it.
Something was off there.
I will say the sound mixing was good because it wasn't one of those movies where I had to like turn it up to hear the volume, to hear the speaking, and then turn it back down when the action started or the music played. You know, it's not a Zack Snyder movie. It's like, we're gonna play all the music like this loud, and then
I would say like a third of that movie though.
That.
A third of that movie though was like, I mean, it was like a weird acid trip, like, you know, like it was like you were like, and I understand why they did it that way, and there was like a lot of weird, like, you know, noises or chanting or whatever, and I feel like a lot of that was just to bring us into like Paul's world and what it was like for him to be, you know, getting high off of all the spice that was in the air in the desert and how his body's reacting to it and all that. So it was definitely very, very like trippy in many ways, in my opinion. So, and that I think might have contributed to the weird pacing of the movie because of that. Yeah. You know, that for some people, they might have said because there was those scenes, it takes you away from the overall plot of the story. You know, I mean, because he's always like tripping balls on this planet.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna probably go see this in theaters. If not, I'm gonna at least watch it one more time really soon because I want it still to be fresh and then watch it again. I liked the movie. I know I can rip it apart from time to time, but I really did. I enjoyed the movie. It was fucking cool, and by the end of it, I was invested in these characters. So yeah, they did what they were supposed to do. It just confused me a little bit in there, but it made sense towards the end. It did just stop, which was just it's annoying, and I was like,
you had to have been prepared for that.
You had to be prepared for that, though.
Well, I had that spoiled. I had that spoiled because I was listening to a podcast.
I was full on ready prepared.
I knew it was a two-parter. I knew it was going to be a two-parter.
I did too, but like, you know, give me a cliffhanger.
And the movie was running long, and I was like, it's about to end.
We're gonna walk off.
Yeah, it's about to end.
It really reminded me of.
I knew it was about to end. It was Lord of the Rings, dude. Get in the boat, Frodo. Let's go.
Like, yeah, I mean, it really reminded me of that a lot.
Smirch had one more thing that he said actually when we left. Is Smirch said something about like the ships and the technology that I think it was really.
Those are cool, man.
Yeah. Say it.
It's fucking dragonflies.
I mean, just the technology in this movie was cool, and like I was just gonna say, as a whole, like you can tell why it took a while to make this movie. This is a hard movie to make, and not just as a hard movie to make. This is a hard sell to any studio like panel. It's because like you start describing like it's like goth, but there's like technology and it's like dark and blah blah and it's long, and I could just see like people being like, oh no, I don't want to buy this movie. Like
it's been a long time too that they've been trying to get this movie made. It's been sold to a lot of different studios. It's been like shopped around, and it took a really long time to get it together. And you know why? So like cool. You could tell.
Right, you could tell. There's a lot of aspects of this movie that are like hard to like portray and like still be like fun to watch. But I mean, one thing that was definitely not a challenge was certain technology portions of this movie. Like, I mean, the dragonfly thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense, like, you know, tactfully or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Familiar,
that was cool.
Which is what's interesting, right?
That was so cool. Just seeing the wings start to flutter and then it take off.
It's all very thought out.
I was very into that. I loved the you know, like there are the shields, which, you know, a little bit of vagueness on how effective and when they're effective.
Not effective. They're not effective.
Apparently not, but whatever. I don't think they were. I think they're just there for like projectiles mainly.
Time,
and then like
Momoa pushes it away. Every other time, you're dead.
I think they're for projectiles, but I think you could tell that when they were dropping the bombs from above, cool. You could clearly something that like bombs that were meant to go through shields, and the effect of it going through a shield and then exploding inside the shield was so cool.
I think very they made them like done. Slow bombs, like they drop them slow,
and they like vibrate or something. Like I don't know.
It looks like slow motion is what gets through the shield. So in a fight, in theory, it's
that's what they kind of talked about when Gurney was fighting Paul. Is that like you have to be quick on the attack, but slow when it comes to the death, you know, to the death.
Right.
This has got to be a slow
very
attack.
Cool.
It's a very interesting concept.
Cool. Even just like the visual and the sound mixing on that part happening, just so well done, and I really appreciated that part of it. I look forward to seeing more crazy technology things that come out of this movie, and even when it didn't really need it, like it was just literally like this one throwaway like part when they're going to harden the sand and escape the tent. They gave you a little exposition.
That was cool.
With Jason Momoa, like, oh, you know, this is the sand hardener, and they're like, oh, you're like a local, and I was like, oh, maybe. Blah, blah, blah. Like I like the little details in this movie, and then the more you can get immersed in the world.
That they raise Paul to be a soldier in the way that
Yeah.
like a real like Macedonian / like Spartan, like he's one of his men.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? When he's in there with Jason Momoa, he's there with the other Jason Momoa with the other like soldiers that are house. You know what I'm saying? He's not above them. He's like one of them. He's a soldier. He's in there in the locker room while they're like, you know, doing their bid or whatever, and they're there drinking or playing games or whatever, and they welcome him in as one of them, not somebody who is going to be their duke in the future, but someone who's like a soldier with them. And I think that's a very old school like way of creating a leader, is that like you want a leader who has the respect of the men. And how do you gain the respect of the men? Is that you say you're no better than the rest of them. That actually truth is you're the servant of the rest of the men because their lives are in your hand. And you could see he's taught that way, right? That's instilled in him by his father.
Yes, I like that. His relationship with his father.
His relationship with his father is like, it's heartbreaking because you know what's going to happen. You know that this is a trap.
Right.
They know it's a trap, and the whole time he's telling his like, "Why are we doing this? This is a trap. Like, if it's just a trap, why are we doing this?" And his dad is just so incredibly honorable. Ned Stark, like,
yeah, pretty much.
There's not a call that we don't. You know,
I will say that like it was good, and they hammered it home that he was like well brought up and a good person, and clearly like didn't want to rule but probably would. What was the line? Good men are
called upon.
Are called upon. Yeah. Anyway, that was I almost I'm nitpicking here totally, but I almost felt like they were trying to hammer home how well liked he was by everybody, almost a little too much. Like a lot of the scenes of him running up, like everyone's all official, and him running up and like hugging someone, like, "Oh, good to see you," and like I kind of felt like we don't. I never saw anyone else do that, and maybe it was kind of like trying to like make the focus on him, and I understand that. But we like him already. You don't need to like reiterate that like everyone else needs to hug him and like outside of like greeting protocol or whatever.
I was watching this with Smirch had one. This is totally funny. Smirch had this one part where the dad's like, "When I grew up, I wanted to be a pilot." And Smirch just could not stop laughing. He's like, "Oh my god."
Oh yeah, we were talking about
when how he grew up. I want to be a pilot. We're like, really?
Well, I feel like I've seen you be a pilot in another movie before.
Maybe one. Nothing big though. I think it was an indie film.
My other comment was when they were talking about how where they stored the sand. I was like, additional supply depots required.
Yeah, additional, because they literally are like little cylinders that you see in all those RPGs, like Command and Conquer and freaking StarCraft. You need to create more additional pylons. Yeah. Must construct additional pylons.
So I'm gonna go see Dune again, hopefully in theaters, and I want to see what you guys think about watching it at home.
I will,
and we can revisit the conversation because I think it'll be interesting. Maybe. I mean, it's worth a second watch. Are you gonna not watch it?
It's a long movie.
I think I like leaving it the way I remember.
It's a long movie. I might rewatch things just to see if what I missed, kind of, and like maybe there's parts that. Like I would suggest maybe Dan, if there's parts that you didn't hear quite well in the theater, maybe
for some subtitles.
But honestly, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that one. Okay, so Dan,
okay,
you have a question. This is today's segment. Is
wait. We'll do mine first, and we close out with Dan. Then
it's the same. Wait, what's yours?
Better than Rogue One? Yes, it's better than Rogue One. Is it better than Rogue One? Yes, it actually is like what Rogue One was trying to do, but like it did it successfully. There we go. Okay.
George, why do you even need to ask this question? I feel like the question is going to be yes for you all the time.
No,
we're going to have one movie on here.
Oh, he's going to be like, it's worse than Rogue One, and we're like, oh shit.
Ooh. On a scale of Rogue One to what's your favorite? What's the go to Endgame? Where does it land?
Man.
All right, Dan. Okay. What's your question? You got a question?
Weekly
for
question
us.
from now on. If you decided to, and from
weekly,
here on out,
I'm gonna do these weekly.
And by weekly question, I mean every time we do the podcast.
Yeah.
From here on out, I will propose what was your something, and in this week it is. I originally intended to mean what do you think was the best acted character death, and that just kind of we all kind of lost that, and so now it's just more of like, what was a memorable character death in a movie that stuck with you, or was well done, or sad, or just iconic overall? Tim,
All right.
Tim's jumping at the bit. He's got a lot, so I'm gonna let him
So
go
I've
first.
I've got like everybody I put a lot of thought into this. I
Wow.
have a ton of things. Now, not all of these are like amazing, but like some of them are iconic in just movie history and things that need to be mentioned. So I think I'm gonna start with my honorable mentions. I'm gonna go
Dang,
with
you guys did a lot.
any death in Raid Redemption. That was fucking intense. All of those scenes were insane. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely go watch it. It's a cool martial arts movie.
Should
Um,
see
uh,
those.
it's so good. It's so clean too because there's no special effects. I mean, no CGI or anything like that. But there's one specific where it's like some guy leaning over like a thing of crates or whatever, and he's like leaning back, and some guy jumps up and drops two knees on him. His head drops back. Oh my god, it's fucking cool. It was an intense scene. Definitely worth the watch. I think a satisfying death was Buck from Kill Bill, because you
Hmm.
just wanted that guy to really fucking die, and he
Hmm.
dies brutally. Just gets his head smashed in by a door to a fucking hospital room, and those are
That's such
big
a good one.
doors. Yeah, great,
These
great
are
one.
these are a little okay. It
So
seemed kind of
it
random, but okay.
changes. It changes.
No,
I'm
I mean
trying to bring them all
that's a
together.
great example. Like there's nothing more like when you as an audience want to see a character die like really badly,
Yeah.
that is a sign of a good movie. That
Hmm.
you like we care what happens. And
Yeah.
anyway, that's a great example.
Um, uh, I mean, there's so many. I think those are like my two like big kind of. I guess I'm gonna go iconic on this next one, and I think it really needs to be brought up because it's just it changed a lot of movie history in my opinion. It's not the oldest movie, but the scene in Aliens when the chest burster pops out of Kane, played by the late John Hurt. Like the way it was done, and when I first saw it, it was terrifying. It was the fact that they got like nobody knew that that was going to exactly happen as it was, and the so all the reactions in the room were like actual people with fear, and they were startled by it. It really like it scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. And rewatching it, it still holds some of that, like, oh man, like there's something coming out of this fucking guy's chest. What is happening? So I think that one is fantastic, and had to be brought up because I really thought that was good. Now I'm not going to go over all of these because there's a lot and there's too many. I'm going to say this one. I'm going to say this one for Dan. It's a very just sad death. In sad that it happened, not necessarily sad in the way that it happened. Just sad that this character died, and that's Wash.
Ah,
Wash. It's just so sad. It was like
killing
yeah,
killing the comedy relief in a
yeah,
movie
like that's
is
ballsy.
a bold decision,
Hmm.
and such a well liked one is.
Wash from Firefly slash Serenity for
I'm still
anybody
not
who's
over
not
that.
a fan. Yeah, I knew
We
you
are.
wouldn't be.
We should preface all these movies with spoilers in case people haven't seen these, but whatever. Um,
Um,
I want to hear what.
all the deaths of the X-Men in Days and Future Past. That was just cool to see because you don't
Interesting.
see those people die. You don't see
Hmm.
your heroes get killed too often. So I think that was cool to see, even though it had no consequences. But still, um, okay. Here's a really good death. This is going to be on one of the top of my list. I'm not giving them in any particular order, but really well acted. Really felt this, and it's going to be two of them because they're very similar in how they died. But the first one is Vincent D'onofrio's character in the Magnificent Seven remake. Um, I've seen them. I like that movie. I don't care what people say. He plays this like grizzly man in the woods, and you can't understand him because he talks all kind of weird and like, and it's a phenomenal acting by him and most people in the movie. Not everybody, Chris Pratt, but but it was a fun movie to watch. But when he dies, it's a good death. I mean,
Hmm.
he's a hero. He's a good guy. And if you'd ever seen the movies, most of these people die in this movie. Spoilers, but it's a good, like, well acted. Just you just like no, I know you're gonna die, but like Oh, it was really it kind of tugged on the heartstrings, but it kind of but it's the Magnificent Seven remake, so it's not going to pull too many heartstrings. But like it was very good, which leads me into, and I'll open the rest of this up for the conversation, and then I'll come back to it later. Boromir, because they both died in a similar manner. Being spoilers, I'm sorry, I know I told you all to watch this movie, but I'm ruining the Magnificent Seven, which I don't think anybody cares. But they
Wasn't gonna say it.
they he gets shot. Boromir just getting shot with arrows, just like defending to his last dying breath. That thing that he was trying to steal has a turn of heart, and you're just putting it all on the line, and it's one of the most heroic fucking scenes in cinema history. And you're just like, oh, it's so good. And Sean Bean just fucking nails it, just as Sean Bean does. And you just are like, you just redemption in his last dying breath. I have chills, fucking chills thinking about his death. It's so fucking good.
That's probably my top 5 character deaths for sure. Because like you were like, fuck this guy like a minute ago. He needs to get his shit together. Like he's no different than any other person. And then to have you completely change your mind about him, like in a matter of moments, and just be so sad for this man that you just did not care for moments earlier, is a sign of a good character and a good execution of a character death / movie.
So good. So fucking good.
Great stuff.
Some classics that maybe not as necessarily need as much conversation. Scarface, Tony Montana. It was iconic. What a way to go. Worth mentioning. Sonny from The Godfather, if we're talking other gangster movies. Sad. And it was just the way they shot it. When it first came out, you didn't see that. Just just destroying that fucking car. Like, it was good. And it was a good
was it
death.
though?
It was. I mean, come on, man. It's 1970s. What are you gonna do?
I know. Sorry, I was late to the party in The Godfather, and I finally see it, and I just see a man spazzing out for a solid 10
but I mean,
seconds. Anyway,
it was good for the time. The build up. You like Sonny's gonna take over. Oh, and he dies. Like that's what it is, and it was good. Who are some ones we don't need to talk about? Jason Todd, when he got. It's animated. Brutally beaten to death by a fucking Joker. Changed everything.
Big part of Batman's history.
I think I want to talk about this one more, but I don't think there is much more to talk about. Vader, one of the earlier redemptions in death, but I mean, it was again. It's overshadowed by the moment a movie earlier where you find out he's his father. You know what I mean? Like it's like redemption story.
Yeah, I suppose
the bigger moment of Star Wars
that's still
is
a really big
reveal.
like death, and the redemption arc is
I mean it's
a part of the reason why that original trilogy is so great and beloved. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It just sucks that we've been bogged down by Star Wars in general, so that's kind of like
iconic movie scene, the face melting at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, good one.
Just
the
good.
Face melting.
You're not like I care about this character. I want him to die, but it was just like God, the way they did it, and it was all melted. It was live action kind of stuff, and it wasn't like CGI. And it was
Saw
good.
that when I was a little too young. Messed me up a little bit.
Okay. So, who deserves talking? I got really quick ones. Really quick ones.
Tim, your list is so long, man. Come on.
Really fast. Man. Watch. Here's one that. Okay, I'll stop. Here's two more.
Two more.
Oh
okay.
God.
Pick them.
Okay.
This is supposed to be like a short thing. It became like a super long thing of its own.
My favorite death from Game of Thrones. Tywin Lannister.
Interesting.
It is because again of the character build of like the who killed him. If it was anybody else, it wouldn't fucking matter to me. But it was his son who he'd been neglecting and talking shit down and just not being part of the family. And then the manner in which he dies is the most undignified way to actually go out. You're in the toilet taking a shit. You fucking your dwarf son kicks the door open and just right in the chest with a fucking crossbow. Like, whew, like there's so many deaths in that show. There's like wedding, all these things, but that one really got me. And then here it is. Here is the top death of deaths. Mufasa.
That's a big one.
Mufasa.
That's a big one. Mufasa.
It just the one of the first Disney movies to show actual death. Bambi got shot off screen.
Yeah.
You see him fall off the fucking cliff. Like he's murdered on screen in a Disney movie. Like
another other reason why we don't even see death that much because like it was maybe too visceral for children. I don't know.
I don't know, but it was good. It was good. Okay, I'm done.
The sight of Simba pushing his father's lifeless body, which should not be part of a children's film, in my opinion.
Cried.
But man, you felt it. We all felt it. One of my earliest memories crying in a movie as a kid, and that was big. That was.
We could do a whole podcast on this topic.
Probably.
George.
Yeah,
let's get George.
Let's get George.
Oh, you first. Hold on a second. I have to answer a text. Sorry.
Okay.
In real time. All right.
Okay. Well, I'll get going here then. This was a lot of, I started thinking of like really sad ones. There's a movie called Life is a House, and it's with Kevin Kline, one of my favorite underrated actors, and his son, played by Hayden Christensen, who did a tremendous job acting wise. And I think it's important to acknowledge that because he gets shit on mercilessly because, let's be honest, not a great performance on the Star Wars prequels. But who did have a great performance? I would even say Ewan McGregor had, like, at best, an okay performance for those movies. Natalie Portman, Academy Award winner, did a bad job. That's line. You're breaking my bad. I think it's more than that. I think it's bad directing as well. That line,
George
Annie, you're breaking my heart, is one of the most cringeworthy lines to this day. I am just I want to reiterate, and I'm kind of glad that Hayden Christensen is going to be back for this Ahsoka Tano show, and I'm rooting for
Kenobi.
him. And Kenobi. It's an exciting thing. Anyway, so that no one knows that movie, but that is a sad death.
Who dies? You didn't even tell us who died.
Well, anyway, it's the father. It's Kevin Kline. He has cancer. It's heartbreaking. And Hayden Christensen has a very visceral reaction. I kind of got bogged down by like sad deaths. I mean, like ones like Green Mile really stuck with me. A really great, kind of almost too long of a movie, but ultimately it's stuck with you. I mean, you got to Walk to Remember, Lion King. You stuck out. None of this counts. But it stuck with me. Inside Out. When they leave her make believe friend, whatever his name was, in the shadows.
I just watched that too. I love that movie.
Something because we can all relate. Yeah, we can all relate to the moment like when we left our childhood behind, and we're seeing it happen, and that sticks with you. Tim talked about Wash and Serenity. I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm going to try to lead up to my final two. I mean, there's Never Ending Story. Ajax trying to pull his fucking horse out of there. Just heartbreaking. One that I'm still not fully over is Sir Dobby, the former house elf of Harry Potter, and the sacrifice he made after earning his freedom not so long ago is a thing of sadness and beauty. Even though I shit on the new Star Wars sequel movies, the death of Han Solo was hard to watch.
Yeah, of course.
Because to me, he was the man. He was the best character in those series that gave that thing life. And to see such a beloved character, even though Harrison Ford, the actor, was so done.
So done.
Like could not have been more done with it. Anyway, that was hard to see. Let's see. Black Swan, the ending.
Oh, I was gonna do that one. I didn't know if that counted.
I think it does. Just because it's like the ending and it's like the masterpiece. That one will forever stick with me. This isn't a movie, but How I Met Your Mother. My favorite character in How I Met Your Mother was Marshall Erickson, and when you get the news that his dad dies, fun fact. For this show, they told the actor, Jason Segel, Lily is going to come up to you and give you news. And we want we're not going to tell you what it is, but we just want you to react. What we see in that show is Jason Segel reacting to the news for the first time that his character's dad has passed away. And that to me was like, wow. And his line is, "I'm not ready for this." To me, that was both the character and the actor speaking in unison, and that resonates with me. And I think that's kind of insane and awesome. All right, but I lead all that up to my final two, and the two are Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in Endgame.
Number one.
And well, I can't put it at number one, and let me tell you why. The reason I can't put it at number one is because we had him for I don't know how many movies, 10 movies,
At least.
and since from 2007, 2008 until 2019, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man. Not many others were such like nailing their characters that they just became the character, and
many parallels to his own personal life in many ways.
So
too.
many.
Like his
the
redemption story
arc,
is his own personal redemption story. You know, that movie saved him.
Yes, and
no one was going to give him another chance, honestly.
Right. And he got the best chance of all, and he had the biggest impact on those movies. He on the universe, on the story, and that is I'm literally getting choked up just thinking about it. It is a beautiful and sad moment of sacrifice, and it's almost unfair to other movies because all these movies and character deaths, we meet them an hour and a half, maybe hour before, until we see their passing. We had known Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man for 12 years or something, a long time. And so that death is in many ways the saddest because we knew him the most. It's a very amazing ending and sad to one of the most epic and one of my favorite movies of all time. That would be number one, but it's a little unfair advantage to have so many movies to build up to. So my number one character death in terms of one movie that I'm still not fully over is Rufio from Hook.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Dude, he was digging it. Dude, he was the man, dude. Fucking Rufio, like you're kind of like, dude. He's like, dude, give Peter Pan a chance. And he didn't, but then he was like, you can fly, you can fight, you can. It was, and they were there and they were fighting together. And his death scene, even though the whole holding your, person who's dying is it's a risky move for a movie. I'm not a huge fan of it, but then he utters the utterly heartbreaking line, "I wish I had a dad like you," and cue the tears.
Yeah.
And it fucking stuck with me as a kid. And to see, and then just not just that, but the moment that followed of Robin Williams going from complete sadness to, and now we end this, to, I love the movie Hook. And I thought that was, and at the time I was mad. Didn't like it. It's like, that's not fair. He should be there for everything. But now I'm in hindsight as an adult. It's just an integral part of the story and part of what makes that movie so great. So that's it. That's it for me.
Good choices. George?
Yep.
Iconic movie or iconic death. Quaid in Independence Day 4. Where he's Independence Day, where he fucking goes up there and says, "Oh, boys, I'm back!" Yeah, like come on, like that like could you not like cheer more for that? Like that's a death the whole fucking planet was cheering for, and sad because he died, but cheering because it was like it was over, like they won, like it's over. So iconic. Maybe a bit of a. Kind of a cheat in the next two, I will say.
I'm okay with that.
Master Oogway. Is he really dead? I mean, we see him again later on. So Master Oogway.
That was good.
And anyway, and it's interesting because it's like you would hope that that's kind of how peaceful, and it's more about transcendence more than death, right? It's about moving on to that next plane and not so much about dying. Like he ascended almost to a higher plane of existence, which seemed peaceful, but also like his job was done. Like he passed the torch on.
He was a great character.
He was a fun character, and he's a great character. You know, I really love Master Oogway, so that's why.
That quote, dude, still sticks with me, man. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today is a gift.
That's why
it's called the present.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
what a great way.
Him, but it doesn't matter. It encapsulates his character.
What a great
I wasn't
way
going to say
to
that, but you said Mufasa, so I was
kid.
like, you said acted, so I was like, I don't know if Mufasa count, but if you say Mufasa counts, then I would say Oogway would count as well in that sense.
Both, yeah.
They're both very much count.
Yeah.
Also a bit of a cheat, like Harry Potter, like, did he really die in that moment? It was a death scene. He walked to it thinking he was going to die. He didn't. He died, and then he came back.
Died.
Technically, he died, and then he came back in the same way Jon Snow died and came back. But that's a whole nother story.
Not in the same way. Not in the same way.
Whatever. But my point is he died, he came back. But that was his death scene. He acted, he walked to his death knowing he was going to sacrifice himself. So how much of it is well done by Daniel as far as his acting goes? Maybe a lot of my favor, the fact that it was a scene so much is that it was a very impactful scene in the book series in general, because it all built up to that one point. And the whole series of the movies, I mean, you can argue that that's the point it was built up, the final confrontation between him and Voldemort, or what he thought was going to be the final confrontation. Heartbreaking, because his whole family's around him while he's doing it. All these people who've died for him, his parents, Lupin, freaking Sirius, all these people who loved him and died for him. Dumbledore, all these people showing up after in that kind of death scene. Dumbledore obviously comes in afterwards, but like, very interesting.
All the deaths in Harry Potter, man.
All the deaths in Harry Potter are all
so well done.
I will say one of them I don't want to I don't really want to spoil because you guys aren't that far into it, but there are a few people in the Expanse. I will say the one that I can say that's kind of very like shocking and kind of was like, dang, dude, was the Expanse when what's his name, when the medic dies in that first season of the Expanse. And the freaking just like all you hear is like the boom, and then you look at him and he's like nothing but like, and you're like, Jesus Christ, you're like, God damn it. Like, God dang it, I kind of like that guy, and he's like the first fucking dude to die out of the 5, you know? Like,
yeah, he's a notable actor. I thought he was going to stick around.
He was the notable actor out of that whole entire crew. Like, he was the only one that had actually been in maybe any major movie films out of that original 5 people and who escaped the ship.
Films.
Yeah,
every time.
He's been in, he's also been in, what's it called? What is that TV show on USA where it's like a concierge medical doctor or whatever?
I mean, I just know him.
But he's also in Road Trip, obviously.
Yeah, Road Trip is explaining
Road Trip's
wrestling.
the big one. He explains
take a test
philosophy.
Is like the greatest thing ever.
Socrates, right?
So great.
As far as Marvel goes,
anyway.
As far as Marvel goes, there's another good one in The Expanse, but I don't want to spoil it because you guys haven't gotten there yet.
Thank you.
The Expanse. Marvel goes. I kind of like the way the Ancient One went. It was very interesting, the Doctor Strange. I think it's one of the more unique deaths inside Marvel and inside movie theater, cinematic universe. Because it's interesting because, like, what's interesting about films and, like my love for film is that it has a way of slowing and stopping time, and it's never been more personified than in that film in many ways. Is that, like, film has that weird way of, like, being able to feel like you're stopping time and stretching it out, and, like, a really good movie gets you lost and you lose track of time when you're watching it. And it's the idea that a single moment can stretch on for an eternity, that in your last moment, the way you perceive death and you perceive reality could maybe last a lifetime. And that's something kind of really weird and intricate and special and just an interesting thing to explore. And I believe in that movie, it was done very well done. Like, it was just like they kind of personified that idea and that concept very well.
It was a beautiful kind of like conversation.
It was a beautiful conversation, and the conversation wasn't even though she's the one dying in her last moment, she's still trying to impart on him some kind of wisdom and be like, it's not about you. Like, this is not about you. You Doctor Strange, with all your gifts and all this that you can do and your intelligence, you still don't understand that you need to be more than just the best version of you. You need to be able to be there with the best version of you for everybody, because that is the responsibility you now have, And he finally grasped that in that one moment, of like, it's not about him. He needs to look beyond himself, because he's lived his life very selfishly, even up to that point,
Right. That's a great. Can I just want to say, George, that's a
Elegant.
great pick on so many like levels. For me, when I saw that, how she was there one moment and then she just wasn't.
Yeah. And the
that
way she
to me is
and
like
the way she like she knew her
I don't
death
know.
was coming, and the way that she's able to accept it and be at peace with it in so many ways is something that I think almost every human being I think would like to have that dignity, you know, and I think she
Sure.
does it beautifully, right?
Right. What I was trying to say was that that to me is like how kind of death is, and it's how it's like how someone is there one moment and then the next they're
gone.
not, and that's anyway. I always appreciated that part of it.
As far as like gut wrenching and almost like a Romeo and Juliet, and you guys probably have never seen this, is Angel and Buffy.
I did never see that.
I know.
Angel and Buffy, it's pretty heartbreaking because Angel's character is a vampire and Buffy is a human being, and his death is pretty freaking dramatic. And I don't know if you guys, anybody who's ever seen
Is it in Angel or is it in Buffy?
It's in
Buffy.
Angel. It's in Buffy.
Well, is Angel a prequel?
Angel is a sequel to, it's a spinoff of Buffy.
Sure.
But there's a scene where Angel dies.
I don't want to get into timelines of that. Yeah. That's insane.
There's a scene where Angel dies, and you guys are probably never going to see it, right? I'm assuming you're never going to watch Buffy. Buffy's the one who kills Angel, but she's in love with him. Angel is the quick backstory. Angel is a vampire, but he gets cursed by a bunch of gypsies and grows a soul. So he becomes a good vampire, and he falls in love with Buffy, who's obviously the vampire slayer. And then somebody reverses the curse and turns him back to a psycho vampire. And right before Angel's about to, he's about to kill, right before, Angel's about to get killed, he actually turns back to the Angel that she falls in love with.
Wow.
So she had to kill him in order to save the planet, even though he was a good person again. So that was like a really big thing. And then finally, probably the most recent death that I've seen that really breaks my heart, and I'm still fucking feeling it, is I don't know if you guys are ever going to watch this, but there's a death in Archer that's pretty fucking dramatic in the last season.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's news you know about if you know what's going on in Hollywood. So,
they aired it?
They aired it.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's not a death, but it's like it's. I
knew it was coming.
It's her bow out. It's her. She's dead in real life. So it's kind of the end of her character story. But yeah, those of you who watch Archer, you'll know who I'm talking about if you've seen the latest episode. But man, that fucking stays with me.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry. Needed a reason to cry, so fuck you.
That's it.
Okay, I have one more.
Jesus, Tim.
Tim, we're done.
The death of Paul Dano in There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
I didn't really enjoy that movie, but okay.
Where he beats the hell out of him with a bowling pin. It's intense.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
That movie sucked.
I didn't care for it.
Good movie. I'm surprised Dan didn't say the dude who got his head blown off in the back of Pulp Fiction. In the back of the car. That was just an intense scene. But
he wasn't. That wasn't a noteworthy character.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just like
character. I mean,
the way it happened. We're
gonna do epic deaths from random NPCs. I mean,
I wouldn't say epic on that one.
But just memorable, I suppose. One I did forget is, even though it's kind of overdone, is Hodor. That was a good one. It's a pretty good death on all fronts.
I could go on forever. Hans Gruber being thrown off the end of Die Hard. Yeah, I could go on forever. Yeah. All right. That was too long. I loved it. I loved every second of it. We need to have a whole Batman podcast coming up, because this needs to be revisited here.
I would also like to apologize to George. I was not trying. I just was. What you heard earlier was me reacting in real time to the news that George likes Batman Returns
I told you
more
that already.
than the Dark. I don't really remember that, because I would have probably reacted similarly. And my subsequent kind of jokes were just more about how we as Batman fans get too defensive about things like The Dark Knight, and that was not a slight on George. I just was like kind of processing it, and so I'm sorry, George.
What is happening in the chat right now?
Huh? No, it's just a bot.
I was like, what the fuck is this?
Just a bot. It's okay.
They are in the wrong podcast.
Have you found Jesus?
So this was good. I enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun with that question. Do you have a preface for next time's question? Do you want to drop us a question so that any of our followers can participate in said chat that I just mentioned for the first time in the last 20 seconds of the podcast?
No, but that's good to know for future podcasts. I
Let me
don't have
know.
one yet, but I will let you know, obviously, before we do it.
Let me know. I'll post it up in the Modern Nerd Instagram. If I can find my Twitter, I'll throw it up
You know
on
what?
there. Sir Slice 13. I can do it
How
all. What you got?
How about character arcs next time?
There's only one.
I know, but we'll talk about it.
There's only one, and it's from this show. Okay, there is only one, and
Earth Rumble 5. What? Oh, okay. Character arcs. Yeah, whatever. We can talk about. I mean, it doesn't need to be an epic character arc. It can be just one you liked. Character arcs.
Character arcs
for next time.
Think about it.
Yeah.
All right, kids, we've had a wonderful time. We talked about everything. If anybody next time has a good character arc they would like to discuss, you can find us, me at The Modern Nerd or Sir Slice 13. You can message it to George in one of his many fantastic streams that he's most likely going to be doing, GJC327, right here on the Same Bat channel, Same Bat Place. And Dan is non-existent on the internets. Smash City. Find him at Smash City. And
tell you what, if you or someone you know is struggling with pot addiction, reach out to me and I will point you in the right direction. I am a former addict myself, and I have eclipsed. Nope. I've eclipsed a lot of days. 600 days of
good
marijuana free. And just because people say it's not addictive doesn't mean that it isn't. That's it. Little spiel.
Yeah, good. I really don't want to take away from that. It really sounded like you were going to go into like a Ghostbusters ad. If you or any of your friends know about spectral entities that have been bugging, the tone really was the exact same as Dan Aykroyd, and I was like, yes, do it.
Or you know,
it really was. But yeah, follow him, hit him up. He's the guy to see. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Modern Nerd. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Dan and George, you guys have a wonderful day.